Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Series Disney Plus Wave 4 Konshu Build-A-Figure. This is the Marvel Studios What If Red Skull. Another figure that is not necessary to release from What If, because what significance did he have in the series? Pretty much none. But I understand that this was a difficult figure to get, which I don't remember it actually being difficult to get. It was a Comic-Con exclusive figure. Here is the original release MCU version that came packaged with the Tesseract. And now this Tesseract that I have here, I can't remember if this particular one is the Loki one. I think this is the Loki one. Maybe it was this one that came packaged with Red Skull. Either way, it came with a Tesseract, so you had to buy, I think it was 50 bucks. You got the figure, you got the Tesseract. Not a bad deal. I could be wrong on what that price was. Maybe it was 60 bucks. I really don't remember. But it was part of the Marvel Studios, the first 10 years premium anniversary line. It was the first premium anniversary line. Every year there has been some kind of anniversary or premium line that had the 10 figure program, 10 item. Some cases it was 11, like Red Skull would have been technically number 11 because they labeled it as 00 as opposed to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I don't think the demand was real high at the time. I'm trying to think. I actually went to that Comic-Con, I think, so I was able to pick it up in person. Did I? Man, I can't even remember. Was it the Defenders that I got in person? I don't even remember now. That's how bad my memory is. But I know apparently somebody said that this thing's going for like 200 bucks online now. I didn't know that. So it's cool that people now have a chance to get it. It wasn't the only MCU Red Skull figure that was actually released. We had this one in that same anniversary line. You had this Red Skull, which was a Army Builder pack, which did he actually, Johann Schmidt, did he, Red Skull, wear this in the movie? I think he kind of did at one point, right? But it came with different other heads and accessory pieces for Hydra Goon, so it was really cool. But, you know, this was the better one, because this is, you know, when you think back to the movie, this is how he really looked. So we had that as a special figure. Not a lot of people had it, I guess. So it was great to have in the collection. Well, here we go again, where Hasbro's re-releasing stuff. It's cool. I don't have a problem with it, but because it's a what if, it's like, it doesn't make sense. It is an easy way to get the figure out there for other people as opposed to just doing some random release. So I get it. But when I think about what if figures, it's like, well, okay, well, what figures from what if could they have released? Anything from important stuff in the show. Like Black Widow was very important, right? Even Hawkeye was pretty important to set up for the Guardians of the Multiverse, for the finale and how the story progressed with the different ones. You know, we don't even have a Party Thor. I would take a Party Thor over Red Skull because Thor was important. He was part of the Guardians of the Multiverse. Red Skull was nothing. He was just in the one episode. I don't even think he was in it all that much. He was in the Captain Carter episode, which was the first one. So here's Captain Carter. She can't stand. So it's cool that they have them together. I'll show them side by side a little bit later on. But I'm bitching enough. Let's keep it moving. He comes with the right arm to the Konshu Build-A-Figure. I'm super excited for that. That's going to be the next video. Looking at the package, Red Skull looking pretty cool. He's holding the Tesseract, which they put no coloring into the 3D render whatsoever, which is kind of weird. What If logo. There is the Konshu Build-A-Figure. There is the side artwork of Red Skull there, and then he has the Tesseract there. Back of the package, we have the Tesseract. Why they keep showing it is like translucent, but it's got blue tint to it. Enough of that. So that is the box. Here's Red Skull. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so here is the Red Skull. Red Skull's cool, but this is a full-on animated look to it. Could it pass as live action? Sure, if you wanted to. I mean, it's all up to you. It's not. You know, some of the other figures are like super animated looking. Red Skull, you could tell, obviously it is, but it's not super far off that it wouldn't fit in a live action display if that's what you wanted to do. Looking at the Tesseract, we've seen this Tesseract actually has released a few different times. I think both Red Skull figures came with it. Loki came with it in the 2-pack with, was it Ebony Maw? With Ebony Maw? No, not Maw. Corvus Glaive in that 2-pack. So we've had this Tesseract released a few times. I think Comic Red Skull actually came with this as well, which I didn't pull out the Comic Red Skull to do a comparison. I think I'm going to skip that and we'll stick with live action altogether. No, I'll probably go and grab it in between one of these takes. But there is the Red Skull. It does look pretty good. When looking at it with the live action, we got a lot of shading and stuff on the live action to kind of make it look pretty realistic. In the show, you know, did he really look kind of all this crazy to where his cheekbones were super sunken in? I mean, a little bit, I guess. And then the side of the head, you know, you see a little bit more definition in there. The shading helped, you know, really bring it a long way. I'm not saying that it's better than this one, but, you know, they're just kind of two different interpretations. So it's up to you on kind of which one you think is the best. Now, this other regular release, Red Skull, these two were essentially the same, so there wasn't really much different in there. You know, the shading, the dark wash in there and stuff, it can kind of go either way. But they were essentially the same. So that is these two versions here. I probably have a little bit of dust on this one because it's kind of old. So looking at it, they are the same figure. So they made some changes there. So as gloves, they went with like a dark gray, which kind of looks a little greenish, as opposed to black shiny gloves. And then looking at a couple of things, so the Red Skull logo, we actually get a brighter one on the live action. The What If is a little bit of a darker red, but hey, they actually put in some outline in there, and I'm trying to think now, is that a new sculpt? No, it's the same. They just outlined it there. We get an outline at the edge of the sleeve. Looking at the jacket as well, the live action has a red line there for, I guess, a pocket or something, or a seam. Not sure exactly how that worked. Black legs. We had a dark gray leg on the live action version, so there's a little bit of a difference there. Looking at the collar, we had this silver button piece that was painted on the live action. We have the buckle, a couple of silver buttons and things like that throughout, which we do have on the animated What If version as well. We had a grayish jacket as opposed to a black jacket, so there is some difference there. You can see that the What If version is a much darker jacket, but other than that, there isn't really a whole lot of difference. And then of course the different shade of red for the head sculpt. We don't really get any shading, a dark wash in there. We get some shading in the cheekbones, which is good, and then you can see his head sits way higher on the neck versus the live action, which is causing the height difference in there. But the boots and things are actually the same, so we have all the same parts. So it's just a different head and then slightly different deco between the two. But now let's zoom out and see how Red Skull moves around. It's pretty limited because of the jackets, but let's check it out. Okay, so articulation. So Red Skull can look all the way down. The head is on a disc hinge since it is basically a repaint of an older body mold. We get that instead of a dumbbell joint. He can look up quite a bit, which is pretty good. You get a full rotation in that head, of course. You get some pivot in there, not a huge amount, but it is some. You can get the shoulder to only go up that high, which is not a whole lot. You can do a full rotation in there, of course. You have an upper bicep swivel, but as you can see, it is an ugly cut swivel up at that bicep. We get a double jointed elbow. Again, it is a repaint, reissue, so there are pins. We get smaller pins on the outside. The inside it gets much larger pins, but that much bend there. The wrists swivel and they do hinge, standard horizontal hinge, and that goes on both of them. This open hand here, of course, can grip the Tesseract, where he just has a fist for the left hand. So we have a diaphragm cut on him, so pivoting to the left is not a whole lot. Pivoting to the right is really not a whole lot. Going back is really not a whole lot. Coming forward is really not a whole lot. Can't do much with it, but hey, there is a swivel there, which actually isn't important because there's a swivel at the waist as well, and it's not really a ball joint. It looks like it's shaped like a ball joint, but it's not. So not a whole lot of motion there, but it's Red Skull. He didn't do a whole lot. I mean, you can get into some fighting poses, I guess, but you're not really going to be able to do a whole lot. In terms of the legs, this jacket, the trench coat that he's wearing, greatly hinders anything that you would have wanted to do with the legs. So that kind of sucks. You can kick forward a little bit because of the open part of the jacket, but not a whole lot. There is an upper thigh cut in there. He does have double jointed knees, which, you know, how effective you're really going to be able to get them is kind of up in the air, but you do have that much bend there. There's no calf swivel or boot swivel on this guy. Foot hinges all the way down, as you can see. Tiny bit of hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So pretty limited on articulation, but you know, Red Skull, I think for the most part, you know, he should just be kind of standing there looking menacing and controlling his Hydra army. Okay, so here we have our Red Skull figures. We have the 3 MCU versions, the 2 live action and the animated, and then here we have the comic book version, the classic Red Skull. So you can see in order by height how we have them here. So the reds are fairly similar between the comic book classic Red Skull and the What If version. So I'm gonna get a closer look so you can kind of see the difference in shades of reds. I will try a head swap. I don't normally do head swaps between MCU and comic because they don't make sense to me, but this one being animated is a little bit different. I'm gonna try it out. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so first seeing them side by side, we actually get a darker red on the What If that ends up making it look kind of brighter. It seems kind of washed out in the bright lights with the comic book version. But I will pop the heads. They're going to be very different sizes, so I think this one would look funny if it even fits on this one and vice versa, because one's going to be too small, one's going to be too big, but let's go ahead and go for it. So pop that head off. Pop that head off. Let's put that on there. It actually pops on. That's probably not too bad, but the head does look pretty large for the body. In terms of the red skin tone, it blends in decently, fairly well. You can kind of get away with it. In terms of the What If version on the comic version, that's going to look funny, and it just kind of wobbles there. Look at that. So that's not really going to work because it looks pretty... I guess it's not terrible, but it's look at it. It just wobbles around on there. But I guess you could make it work if you wanted to. And for those that may have this Red Skull because it was easy to get to as a regular release, but didn't get the San Diego Comic-Con one, but really want this body for their MCU Red Skull, you could see that, of course, is going to work, but then you're going to have to do something with the neck, whether you use a wash to darken it up or just a new, different color red paint to make that work. Of course, it would work, but you could see the skin tones. It ain't going to happen. You will need to do some work, or unless you're good with it like that. I mean, there could be ways for you to kind of hide it a little bit, maybe, you know, depending on how you do it. You know, you do some Hail Hydra stuff and hide it. You know, you could kind of do something, but the head, of course, will work on there if that's what you wanted to do. Okay, and then here we have the from the What If Captain Carter episode. We have Captain Carter herself, Red Skull, and then we have the Hydra Stomper figure, which I keep forgetting even exists because I didn't care much for it because the feet and how rounded they were and how wobbly this guy is, it really like bothers me, and I kind of tore it apart, you know, in my video. Like, it's a piece of shit. Like, why can't you get it to stand? Why would they do the feet like that and not just make it stand? It seemed to be an issue for my figure, whereas a lot of people didn't really have that issue, but I definitely did. It is what it is. It still looks cool, but damn, like, I don't want him wobbling around, and I had a hard time getting him to stand. If I try to pose him and stuff, then it gets difficult. It's still cool, but again, you know, what significance does the Hydra Stomper suit have for the show? That episode, yeah, but I mean, those one-off things, unless a lot of these figures and stuff make appearances in season 2, I don't necessarily understand the need for having them. Like, Red Skull's likely not going to be in season 2. Was he necessary? Heist Nebula, she's likely not going to be in season 2. Was she necessary? Maybe they are in season 2. I don't know, but I would think that you would want to release figures and stuff for characters that are going to have multiple appearances or have some kind of significance to things for the overall story arc. So, like, all of What If culminated in the Guardians of the Multiverse. So Star-Lord T'Challa makes sense. He's part of that team. Captain Carter, we got the stealth suit, which makes sense compared to this one, even though it wasn't fully accurate. Whatever, that's a different story. So those kinds of things are just really throwing me off, and I'm probably just looking way too into it and bitching and complaining too much, and I get that, and I apologize. I'm sorry. It just, in some ways, I would hope that these would be a little bit more meaningful, but again, like this, the Red Skull, I need to make the exception because I didn't realize, you know, how much this one was going for, and you know, MCU collectors, out there that just want movie versions and live action stuff, or even anything MCU, it gives them a chance to get a Red Skull figure. So how could I be mad at that, right? It's different enough that they are two separate things, so it doesn't take away the value or specialness or anything of this one. It just, you know, this new one adds to the overall MCU collection. So, you know, that's cool. Okay, here is the Disney Plus Wave 4 in its entirety. Solid wave. Some questionable releases in my opinion, like Howard the Duck is pretty unnecessary. It gets us a Howard the Duck figure in any form, which I know people are happy about. They could have done better, way better, but it is what it is. That's what we have. It's unfortunate, but you know, at the end of the day, we have a Howard the Duck figure, we have a decent wave, and we have a really damn good Build-A-Figure that I'm excited to put together. But you guys let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this wave? What do you think of the Red Skull figure? Are you happy to get it because you couldn't get the San Diego Comic-Con one? If you're one of those folks, let me know down in the comments below how happy you are to be able to get your hands on it. Let me know. And yeah, that's it for the video. If you guys are interested in joining the MCU Collective and becoming a channel member, hit that join button. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.